that we should address all of this head on. So it's true. The Daily Wire laid off some 13% of our workforce since the beginning of the year.
I don't even believe that number, 13%.
For our critics, this was all cause for massive celebration.
A few days ago, we did a story on Ben Shapiro and how his numbers, his ratings, his subscribers, his followers, his views, impressions are falling through the roof, and they have been for quite some time. So it really wasn't surprising to me or to any of us that he had to lay off so much of his staff over the past few weeks. In fact, on just one day, Candace Owens reported that it was several of the high-ranking people at the Daily Wire were all let go. And it's not just the Daily Wire that's down. It's the Ben Shapiro Show. It's Daily Wire. I mean, I think these are all within the same, Zioslop network that he runs. But he let, in total, he claims 13% of his staff go. Now, of course, I wonder when he says something like that, I'm like, are we being a little bit generous with what we're labeling as staff? Like, for example, if they have people that work like part-time or way less than what part-time would even be defined as, and he didn't fire those people, he didn't say, hey, we're never going to work with you guys again, then is he including those people as, the 83% or 87% that he didn't fire off? I don't know. I do think that this is a real problem for the Daily Wire, and clearly a lot of other people seem to agree. The mainstream media wrote several pieces on how their once beloved brainchild that they created in a lab in Beverly Hills, California, is now crashing and burning. One of the most viral, of course, was this article from New York Magazine, which says, there was a time, not very long ago, when Ben Shapiro could reasonably call himself the king of all conservative media. That's all over now, writes political columnist Ross Barkan. So they're admitting, they're waving the white flag. They're like, hey guys, look, it's over. It's over. The jig is up. Right? Shapiro's company, the Daily Wire, is instituting significant layoffs. Its YouTube channel subscriber base is starting to shrink, and its website has emerged as one of the great traffic losers in conservative media. There are Daily Wire YouTube videos that now, after a few days online, have less than 10,000 views, a catastrophically small number for a channel with more than 3 million subscribers. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. We were banned here on YouTube for 2 years. We come back and already within a few months we're hitting way above that. We're punching way above our weight on this channel. They continue to write a catastrophically small number for a channel with more than 3 million subscribers. The top comments all mock the low view counts. So even the people that are viewing are just, they're using Ben Shapiro as a human punching bag, and they're watching just to go on the videos and dunk on him in the comments. Quote, if a variety of poor business decisions can be blamed in part for the Daily Wire's fall from grace, ill-fated investments in feature films, an epic fantasy series. We'll be right back with the episode, but first, a quick word from our sponsor. A few weeks ago, I covered Saga Metals, trading as SAGMF in the United States and SAGA in Canada, a company I featured many times on the channel. We're revisiting the story much sooner than expected because in less than 6 months, they've transformed the scale of the company. Just 48 hours ago, Saga announced a 100% drill success rate across all 57 drill holes at the Radar project, all ahead of schedule, while adding $10 million to its treasury through a financing round dedicated entirely to drilling. Radar is now being positioned as a potential host to one of the largest titanium systems ever identified in North America. Saga also secured a strategic titanium acquisition from under $100 billion mining giant Rio Tinto in the same district as the largest titanium mine in the world. Then last month came the acquisition of the Wolverine project, located along the same belt as the Voisey's Bay discovery, one of the most significant mineral discoveries in history. The momentum is hard to ignore because America's critical supply chain depends on titanium. Washington has already committed $12 billion through Project Vault, alongside Executive Order 14241 and a State Department ministerial with 55 foreign ministers focused on critical minerals. As the U.S. and its allies move to secure the future, Saga is positioning itself where the money, mandates, and momentum are flowing, exploring materials essential for aerospace, next-generation systems, and stealth. The message from Washington is becoming clear. Onshore it, secure it, fund it, mine it. And one of the standout achievements here was Saga scooping another titanium project from under Rio Tinto, a company roughly 3,500 times larger by market cap. That takes skill, patience, and execution. If you want to learn more about this critical mineral story, check out the link in the description. Special thanks to Saga Metals for making today's video possible. And Peculiar Merchandise, which, by the way, they at one point were selling $50 scented candles. And I also saw in here somewhere, I don't know if I can find it, they're selling plush toys. I don't even know if this is real, so maybe I shouldn't show it, but they're selling like plush toys, allegedly, according to someone, and I don't care enough to go on their website and find out whether or not this is true. Plush toys of like Matt Walsh crawling like a baby in a baby diaper. I'm like, what type of humiliation ritual is this? I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if that's their attempt at a joke, though. The greater story here is the collapse of Shapiro's constituency, writes Barkin. There are two realities to Shapiro conservatism in 2026. It retains a significant foothold among Republican elites, and it is fast being rejected by the future grassroots of the party. Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying right now that the two most viral people on the internet, objectively, like you go on your phone, you can't do without seeing them, right? It's Tucker Carlson and John Kiriakou. And John Kiriakou, most of his virality comes from, of course, talking about the events of the day. But I think most of his viral moments come from his crazy stories where he was working as a CIA analyst, CIA in the field, when he was at Department of Defense, Department of State. He's got a lot of crazy stories. He's a great storyteller. Tucker Carlson is the only person that is purely political that has any sort of consistent virality across all social media platforms for extended periods of time. Of course, you have some people that rise and fall. Andrew Tate is an example of that. You know, he got super big. He was the most Googled man on the internet. Then he crashed and burned. Nick Fuentes very quickly crashed and burned after, people for a few seconds believed that he was something other than a gay fed. And now you have, who's left? Tucker Carlson and John Kiriakou, but John's not even, he does talk a lot of politics. I'll give him that, and he's right on a lot of stuff. Anyways, I did want to share this with you because Tucker was talking about this just the other day. Let's take a listen.
The Daily Wire, they've had massive layoffs. Why do you think that is?
I knew a political consultant once 30 years ago. I was covering a campaign, and he said, propaganda works, advertising works, but ultimately reality makes the difference. You can spend $1 billion advertising a dog food, but if the dogs won't eat it, it's just not going to sell. And I just don't think the dogs are going to eat this dog food. Who is the constituency for more wars? Hey, Americans, shut up and stop complaining. As Ben Shapiro famously explained, retirement is immoral. You should be working.
No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea.
The pure contempt that Shapiro, and not all the people who work at Daily Wire, but some of them have shown for their audience, is not a long-term play. It doesn't work after a while.
So what I've got to say about this whole Ben Shapiro crash out, which we've been reporting on extensively, is, well, first of all, do I think Ben Shapiro is going to get a real job? No, of course not. Ben Shapiro will never have a real job. But it's just kind of funny, right? He's now posting these 15-minute monologue crash out videos where he's so clearly reading off of a teleprompter, trying to act super nonchalant, trying to crack some jokes about it. It's always the people that care the most about what's going on around them and, just can't recognize the reality of the situation. And they're like, well, I almost have to laugh at the fact that all these people are pointing at, all these people across the entire political spectrum have united against me and what I represent. I almost have to laugh about it. I don't care about that. Oh, and yeah, my whole audience is cratering and I had to fire off a bunch of my staff. Oh, yeah, I almost have to laugh about it. I need to make some jokes about it. So he's making jokes about the fact that the people who work for them are getting fired off because he refuses to take even but a minor pay cut when he's a multimillionaire. He's a multimillionaire of a media company that no one watches, gets injected with, hedge fund cash to the tune of millions of dollars, and he refused to take even but a small pay cut to save some of the people that he has now had to fire off. Right? I also find it interesting that Ben Shapiro, I guess this is maybe the Marxist in me. Mao always talked about the need for rigorous self-critique, and that if you don't follow in the path of rigorous self-critique, then you're going to end up on a path that you don't like the look of, right? If you can't be real with yourself, then you're going to go down a road that you wish you rather hadn't. Ben Shapiro looks at this situation where it's not just that, he always is saying that no one watches the mainstream media. He parrots all the talking points that real truth tellers spit out, because it is true. No one watches, but he is a part of the mainstream media. He is. But he says this: no one watches the mainstream media anymore, blah, 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 blah. They're feckless, they're spineless, they're cowards. Okay, but he cares a whole lot when the mainstream media has something to say about him and how his show is crashing and burning. And somehow in this monologue he posts, he believes that maybe somehow, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and also New York Magazine and the New York Times, they're all uniting against him, and this is some coalition of force. It's like it is the mindset of Israelis and the Zionists. It's the whole world is out to get them, and it's everyone's problem. It's not my problem. It's not my fault. It's everyone else's fault. It's literally the entire American political spectrum's fault. It's not mine. He's the only one that's right. He can do no wrong. It's pretty amazing, right? So let's take a look at a little bit of what Ben Shapiro has to say here. I definitely am not going to ruin your day by playing the full 14-minute clip, but let's break down a little bit of it.
Well, hello, everybody. Sometimes here on the Ben Shapiro Show, we cover the news, and sometimes we are the news here at the Daily Wire. Well, over the past few weeks,
sometimes on the Daily Wire here, we cover the news. Other times, we champion the cause of genocide and bombing babies. But today, we're going to be reacting to why my show is having a brutal crash out and why I think it's everyone else's fault, not mine.
The Daily Wire, you might have noticed, has been the subject of a bunch of hit pieces, like a veritable cornucopia of hit pieces.
Bro, I'm going to be honest with you, hit piece, this thing I read is not a hit piece. This is just a objective statement of facts regarding the crash out of the Daily Wire and the fact that he had to fire a bunch of people because he's got low views.
There was one from the Washington Post, and there was one from Puck, and then finally there was an especially ridiculous one from the stellar journalists at New York Magazine, who literally plagiarized their hit piece from the Washington Post. So much journalisming, high-level journalisming. Well,
that was hilarious. How could the Daily Wire be failing with comedy like this?
This morning, that New York Magazine piece is lighting up the interwebs. It's lighting up X. Well, New York Magazine claims there was a time when Ben Shapiro could reasonably call himself the king of all conservative media. I don't remember that time, but sounds cool. They say that's all over now. The Daily Wire is instituting significant layoffs. Ooh. Well, according to New York Magazine, the future of conservatism isn't traditional conservatism, like free markets, like equal rights before law, like checks and balances, like traditional virtue. That's done. The future, according to New York Magazine, is Nick Fuentes, confirmed Nazi stan and woman hater, and man who will never be able to get a human woman pregnant through natural means. Or Tucker Carlson.
Bro, he can't, you all know my thoughts on Nick Fuentes, right? He can't even get through a one-sentence jab at Nick Fuentes, the easiest person on the face of the planet to make infinite jabs at. He can't even get through one sentence reading off of a teleprompter without mumbling through his stupid script. It's amazing. It's actually amazing. And of course, he's setting up Nick Fuentes as the main op, right? Nick Fuentes, who's now endorsing Randy Fine, running against Dan Bilzerian. Nick Fuentes, who has this vicious feud for no reason with literally everyone, with Tucker Carlson, with Candace Owens, with myself, with Dan Bilzerian. right? It's like, that's not your main op, buddy. Your main op is just an average American that doesn't want our taxpayer dollars going to fund genocide. That's who is leaving in droves from your viewership. People who were once duped by your stupid talking points. Those are the people who are leaving you because they're like, wait, no, this actually doesn't make sense what he's saying. Right? It's not Nick Fuentes. It's not Tucker. It's not Dan. It's not Candace. It's not me that are causing Ben Shapiro these problems. He has done this to himself.
Confirmed anti-capitalist and Muslim apologist and victim of demon scratching, or maybe Candace Owens, the confirmed slanderer of widows and connoisseur of French testicles, or maybe Megyn Kelly, click-whoring Grandma Groiper over there. Well, New York Magazine writes, quote, "The collapse of the Daily Wire can be seen as a dire warning for traditional Republicans. There are two realities to Shapiro conservatism in 2026. It retains a significant foothold among Republican elites, and it is being fast rejected by the future grassroots of the parties." First of all, that's just wrong. By the polling data, the positions that we take.
I mean, he's reading this all off of... You can see he just read the quote from the article off of a teleprompter. This whole thing is a teleprompter skit. Like, maybe just start there. Maybe just be honest and, I don't know, speak off your mind, like whatever you're thinking, right? You don't have to do this whole teleprompter thing. If you want to get rid of this itch of your viewers collapsing right in front of your eyes day by day, maybe just start off by being a real normal human being rather than some Zioslop fed friend of Netanyahu that was built in a lab and since he was like 3 years old has been writing op-ed pieces at obscure conservative think tanks talking about how he supports civilians being targeted but only if Israel does it, and he doesn't care if American troops die, and he's okay with bombing babies, right? Like, maybe start there, start with getting rid of the teleprompter, right? We'll watch a little bit more.
Here on the show are reflective of the broad majority of Republicans. That's just the reality. But I figured that we should address all of this head on. So it's true. The Daily Wire laid off some 13% of our workforce since the beginning of the year.
I don't even believe that number. 13%. 13%. I wonder personally how much of the Daily Wire staff was fired of the portion of staff that was full-time. That's what I wonder. I do not trust Ben Shapiro to give us an honest assessment of the layoffs. I would imagine of the full-time workers, it might be upwards of like 70%.
And that really sucked. It was truly sad because all those people are great. And anytime, we're in business, anytime you lay people off as a business, that really sucks. It's tough. It's bad for them. It's bad for us. And I'm personally working to find other places of employ for as many of these people as I possibly can, because
that's my favorite part of all in this whole thing. He's like, I really care about these people at the Daily Wire. That's why I make Matt Walsh plushie toys of him crawling in diapers as a baby, right? No, I mean, if he really cared about these people, the dude is a multi-millionaire. Could he not just take like a small pay cut to try and keep some of these people on board? What did Ben Shapiro, Ben Shapiro, you really want to shock the world, say, hey, look, you guys, we're going through some tough times at the Daily Wire. We hear your criticisms. I hear your criticisms personally about my show and the things that I say. And I'm gonna try to broaden my horizons. We're going to bring more guests on from different political viewpoints. I'm going to take a 100% pay cut for as long as it takes, 1 year, 2 years. If we can, stabilize the ship in that amount of time, then we can recontinue as normal. Like, I have no idea if he's in a position to do something like that. First of all, I'd imagine he is. I think he's got plenty of money, right? More money than he probably knows what to do with. Like, if he did something like that, I'd be like, wow, that obviously doesn't take away from all the things that he said and done throughout the, duration of his life up until this point. But I'd be really shocked. I'd be like, wow, this seems like maybe we're okay. We can still claim victory. We can still say we won. We don't have to be sore losers. But this is really like I guess a positive way to handle the whole thing. But not a chance.
Everybody who we let go deserves a job somewhere else. They're great folks. But for our critics, This was all cause for massive celebration. You know, the joyful popping of the corks, or maybe in the case of Nick Fuentes, a victory celebration with Catboys and lubricant. And listen, we're honored by the attention. See, here's the thing. People only tend to write stories like this about major American institutions, right? Like Amazon dumps people, it's a big story, or the Washington Post dumps people, and that's a big story. And thank God we are a major American institution.
The Daily Wire, a major American institution. Well, I think that's a good point we could wrap up on. A major American institution, he calls the Daily Wire. First of all, laughable, lies, more lies, more lies. And as a major American institution, he's calling the vast majority of Americans who do not sympathize with his messaging, he's calling upon them to kiss his ass. So what I'm saying is he's doing the exact opposite of what I just said, 2 minutes ago. Taking any sort of accountability, humbling himself just a little bit. He's doing the exact opposite, and that's only going to cause the rapid acceleration, a positive feedback loop of this crash out continuing, okay? Which I relish in the opportunity to document this stuff. I think for the first 2.5 years of the genocide in Gaza, I think every single post that Ben Shapiro made, I made it. There's only so much you can do as an American. I was living in Florida at the time. There's only so much you can really do. And I'm like, how can we collectively take our anger out? And every single day we were just ratioing his Twitter account each and every day, watching his numbers slide down further and further. And, I would love to have the opportunity to personally let Ben Shapiro know how I feel. But of course, he's a weak man that refuses to do anything of the sort. Right. I think at one point I even offered. No, it was Yair Netanyahu. I sent a formal contract for a sanctioned boxing match with Yair Netanyahu. I would offer the same thing to Ben Shapiro, but why would I waste my breath, my time, my energy, my life on something that I know he would never do in a million years, right? But I would love to personally let Ben Shapiro know this thing. But I guess we'll just have to watch from the comfort of our homes as we continue to witness the mass decline of the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.